Matt, why don't you walk us through Brassic? Because
Brassic.
you were probably in it at some point. I didn't.
Is it because it's from the north? So this is.
Oh, I love that.
Well, it's billed as a comedy series, but it's sort of more of a comedy drama, I would say. It's created and stars Joe Gilgun alongside co-created with Danny Brocklehurst. Follows the lives of a group of friends led by Gilgun's Vinny, who were very much sort of Jack the Lad types. You see them in the first scene being chased by the police in a stolen car. They also sort of grow cannabis. There's a subplot in this where they're trying to steal a Shetland pony. The sort of more serious aspect of this is that the character of Vinny, Joe Gilgun's character, is bipolar. Goes to see a doctor played by Dominic West in several scenes. We've then got Dylan played by Damien Maloney, who's sort of the most sort of normal one, I would say, of the group. He's in a relationship with Michelle Keegan's character Erin, who's this single mum who's trying to better herself, going to college, and it's sort of his two relationships with Vinny and with Erin, and sort of being pulled both sides, and that's it really in the first episode, isn't it? It's them getting into sort of various scrapes, which you feel will be the sort of the building blocks throughout the 6 episodes, which are all available on Now TV, aren't the Sky box sets. Luke, let's start with you on this one.
Well, the comparisons to Shameless are obvious. Danny Brocklehurst wrote a lot of Shameless, and B, it's that anarchic sort of poorer side of the country getting their say in their world. And, there's a lot of, little digs, and it felt very authentic.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think the dialogue was unusual, but again, felt very honest and very authentic. The thing was, for me, I felt like it couldn't really decide what it wanted to be, and there was a disconnect in tone, which is a very TV critic thing to say, tone. But yeah, for me, it wasn't quite sure where it wanted to be, and Shameless always hooked me because at the heart of that was the Gallagher family, who, at the end of the day, whatever quote-unquote scrapes they got into, they had each other's back. But I think this sort of didn't know whether it wanted to be out-and-out comedy or whether it wanted to tell a more delicate, serious story about the characters. And
yeah, because I didn't find it particularly funny, but I really liked it.
I think it's the dialogue and the delivery of the lines that are
and
amusing.
the sort of tone and sort of almost the cadence of it.
And the chaotic nature of it as well. It's unlike anything else we got on TV. But it's not one, again, sorry, that I'm going to seek out and continue. But I enjoyed it for what it was.
I would praise Sky for putting things like this on. This feels very personal to Joe Gilgun, doesn't it? And it seems like something that they've taken a bit of a chance on, because there's no big name. I suppose Michelle Keegan's the biggest name in this, who I thought was very good in this. I quite liked her.
She's always good. I tell you a bit of the backstory that I do know is that Joe Gilgun and Dominic West worked on a film years ago called Pride, about the sort of gay aspect of the miners' strike,
which is very good.
And Joe Gilgun used to regale Dominic West with these stories about his friend group and what they used to get up to and what his life was like. And Dominic West is like, you have to write these down, you have to make a series out of this. And he says, well, I'll do it, but I want you involved in it as well in case it all goes wrong. So that's why Dominic West is in there.
And his bits don't work for me. Those are the only bits that didn't work. They're completely
disconnected, yeah. But yeah, it's not one that I'm going to stick with. It's not one I'll remember by the end. But I do think
it's something that if you want an easy watch for 40 or so minutes, it's something to stick on. You can watch. You can sort of, you don't have to concentrate it on that much. But it is a well-made series, and we don't get a lot of. You mentioned Shameless. How many of these sort of working class, programs like this do you see now? You don't. It's all mainly like the crime dramas and things like that, isn't it?
That's why I struggle, because we're making shows like The Capture more and more regularly. The proper voices are getting lost. I think
because
I love
they want to sell them internationally.
Yeah, that's what
they want to try and sell Bodyguard did really well internationally. Yeah. So they're trying to find that next Bodyguard, and obviously that's why they've got an American star coming into The Capture as well to try and sell it internationally and get that international acclaim. Whereas something like Brassic, you wouldn't get an international audience because it is a very British series, but that's what we should be championing, really. So good on Sky for doing this, and it's good to have
fans of The Wire won't be flocking to this just because of Dominic West.
This must have been like somebody put your life on screen. This must
Here we
have been
go.
hard.
Here we go. I tell you what, you're lucky I didn't have a lot on this week, because after the first 10 minutes, I'm like, what the hell am I watching?
I didn't think you'd last longer than 10 minutes.
He's
tell
lost
you what, I stuck with it, and I'm glad I did, but I ain't going to be watching any more, and here's why. It's overly crude, and I don't just mean I was shocked by the language. I was shocked by the tone and some of the incidents in it. And I appreciate that it's trying to capture a realistic part of, I know it's set in the North, but it doesn't necessarily need to be, of a small town mentality, people who feel their lives aren't going anywhere, people with dreams that are unfulfilled and feel stuck. And I did like some of the more thoughtful and pathos type moments where the lead character was babysitting Michelle Keegan's son and was out in the car with him. And I quite like some of those connection moments. But the whole idea of the northern town train spotting bit at the moment, where here's so-and-so, and he's a bit of a Jack the Lad, and he likes S&M.
Yeah, there was a sort of...
That I didn't need.
But I suppose you need to introduce the characters in some way, and the voiceover didn't bother me too much. It's sort of, as you say, like a train spotting ditty and like a lock, stock, or two smoky barrels. There's some Guy Ritchie elements in there as well.
And even in the way in which, like a gangster movie, it's like, well, if you do this for me, I'll do this for you. And there was that kind of quid pro quo throughout the show. You steal this Shetland pony, I won't tell the police about your drugs. You steal me that car, and I'll get you this. You know, that kind of idea that you can never get anything done, because every time you need something, someone else wants you to do something for it. And it felt very contrived to me.
I think it had a charm to it, though, and as I say, an authenticity.
Yeah, there were charms and authenticity, and I think most of that was in the individual acting. I won't be carrying on. I agree with you that Sky are being bold in this, and they're certainly pushing it. A lot of advertising.
As Matt says, you can gorge on all of Brassic on Now TV or Sky box sets if you're a customer, or it's on weekly, I think Thursday nights, and we're a couple of episodes. This started a few weeks ago. We're a bit behind on it. But yeah, again, brave.
Can I just advertise as well? Sorry, because I had a bit of problem finding the first episode. It's available on the Sun website as a free to watch on the first episode, which is how I watched it. So if you don't have Sky and you don't want to pay your uncle,
but you buy the Sun,
but you can support Mr. Murdoch and watch it that way.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, I agree with both Matt and Gary that it is bold, brave. It's just not something I'll be watching, and actually felt somewhat dated in a way. I thought this would have been on in sort of the early noughties, and I would have had a better connection to it. I'm obviously odd because I don't like overly big shows like The Capture, but this was really based in reality, and I wasn't too fond on it either. I don't know what I want from a show.
No, I don't. This seems like something you would like. These are characters that are believable.
There's a show I want to discuss next week that I've fallen in love with. That
okay.
I think I'll be able to.
But did you not find there was because the word you always use is connecting to the characters? Did you not find anything to latch onto here, or what was the sticky? I can understand Gary's sort of reservations.
Gary's
with
a
it.
snob.
You couldn't watch this with your parents.
No, but I suppose what was it that you weren't? Why weren't you watching it anymore?
I'm slightly with Gary. It almost felt too anarchic in ways. Almost felt too in your face. And actually, the characters, as much as I liked them, were often more cartoony than real. Too much of the time.
Sorry, Matt. There's tissues behind you downstairs if you need them.
I've got some of my own and blow my nose.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Have you got cameras down here?
No, but I can hear you, and I want to be a good host and say
they're under the nest of tables, Matt.
No, they're on top of the tall boy. Get it right.
Okay, Brassic's on Sky and Now TV if you want to watch it.